So I'm going to demo the RHEV manager. This is the administrative console for RHEV. I'm going to be logging in as the administrative user. And when I first log in, you'll notice that I'm on the virtual machine tab. I also have a tree view on the left-hand side. This allows me to see my entire environment. So I have two data centers, one called COE, and it has storage, clusters, and hosts, as well as virtual machines. So in this data center, the COE data center, I have fiber channel storage, NFS share for installation disks, and an import-export domain. And I have a single cluster, and that cluster has 3 hosts in it. I also have a second data center called SA Lab. This is using iSCSI storage with an ISO domain and an export-import domain. And this cluster has actually 8 data center hosts in it. So if I look on my data centers tab, I can see that I can see both of the data centers. One is fiber channel, one is iSCSI. They're both RHEV3.0. At the data center level, I can do a couple of things. I define my storage domains for both storing ISOs, import-export, and for data, which is the virtual machine images. I can also define logical networks. I can have one or many logical networks, one for management, one for storage. Maybe I have a production and a test dev network. My clusters, again, I have a single cluster in this data center, just like I have a cluster here in this data center. So what is a cluster? In RHEV, a cluster is a failover domain, so it is a series of like hosts. If I look here in the COE domain, I should have 3 hosts. And if I look at the properties of this particular cluster, I've done CPU masking to the Intel Conroe family. I can also set a memory optimization policy. These are built in, and I can also create new ones. I've optimized this for server virtualization so that these machines are set to 150% memory overcommit. I can also set it to a higher version, probably for desktops, or I can disable memory page sharing altogether if I wish to. And then finally, I can have an HA policy across the entire cluster. Normally, my default would be to migrate only highly available virtual machines. So I have the ability to mark certain machines as highly available, and those are the machines that will migrate in case of a host failure. I can also be more aggressive and say to migrate virtual machines, and this will migrate every single virtual machine in the environment regardless of what policy I've put on each individual VM. And then for maybe a test dev environment, I can also choose do not migrate virtual machines. So if one of my hosts fails in a test dev environment, I really don't want to restart all those VMs, even if an individual admin has set a machine to highly available. So those are the policies that are available at the cluster level. I can also set some policies for load balancing and for power management. So in this case, I'm using a load balancing policy that says if any one of my hosts reaches an 85% or more utilization rate for 10 minutes, then I'll start to balance the workloads across all of those hosts. So the bulk of the administration is going to actually happen at the VM level. So if I go back to my whole system view, you'll notice that I have a list of all these virtual machines, and it's quite an extensive list of VMs because I have a lot of stuff going on in my environment. Some are running on particular hypervisors, some in the COE cluster, some in the SA Lab cluster. These machines are turned off. Again, if I want to just limit my view to those virtual machines in the COE cluster, I can click on the VM tab here, and now I'm just limited in my view to what's going on in the COE cluster. So this is, again, a great way to zero in on just the machines that you want to take a look at. So let's take a look at one of these VMs. This one here, Prueba, is a Windows 7 machine. It's running Spice. It's a server VM, although it's running a desktop environment. I can look at it. It has two virtual NICs. They're both defined on the RHEV network. In terms of disks, I have a 10 gig disk. It's pre-allocated, and it's using the IDE interface. I can look at snapshots. If I create snapshots, I can manage them here. I can also sometimes take a look at the installed applications if the guest tools are installed. On this machine, the guest tools are not installed. So let me look at maybe one of these other machines. So on my AD server, I have a couple of machines, a couple of applications installed, excuse me, including the RHEV agents and other things going on. If I look at this machine, I've got Firefox installed. I've got a couple of system updates installed. And I can search for all this in my search tab. So more than just reflecting what the tree view is, I can quickly zero in on things like, let's see. So it's in the COE, and the OS is equal to Windows 7. So let's see what that does. So I hit go. It's going to limit my view to just the machines that are Windows 7. Let's go back to my list of VMs here. Let's say that these two SA VMs are part of a project called the SA project. Now, they may be hard to find in a list of 100 or 1,000 virtual machines, and someone calls the help desk and says there's a problem with the SA application. Well, I could search for them by name. That might get a little tough, again, in a long list. What I can do is I can tag them so that I have the ability to go and find them again. So now I'm going to assign a tag. First, I need to create it. So I'm going to create a new tag. And my tag is called the SA application. And I'll give it a description. So here is my SA app tag. So let me go back to my list of VMs. And now I'm going to tag these two VMs, assign a tag, and then I'm going to make them both part of the SA application tag group. So a tag is just a way to mark something as having some metadata. That these are part of the SA application. These are in the Dallas data center. These are in rack number 12. So I can create all the machines that I want, all the tags that I want for my various virtual machines, or for hosts, or for clusters for that matter. So let's go back to the system view. See, I have more than a screen full of VMs. It may be very hard to find the SA applications. So now my phone rings, and my customer wants to find. Is my customer saying that the SA lab is down? So I can search for VMs where my tag is equal to SA app. And this will bring up just those two virtual machines that are tagged with the SA app tag. Now again, I can make this a bookmark so that I can always get back to it no matter where I am. So I could be anywhere in the environment looking at anything in particular. And if I needed to get to that bookmark, I can immediately pin myself to that list. It'll pull them up automatically. So again, this is a really powerful way for users on the administrative level to get to the machines of interest.